How to see yourself. The Oxford Dictionary defines selfie as a photograph that one has taken of oneself, and typically taken with a smartphone or webcam and uploaded to a social media site. The selfie is a striking example of how one's elite pursuits have become a global visual culture. At one time, self-portraits were the preserve of a highly skilled few. Now, anyone with a camera phone can make one. The self expresses, develops, expands, and intensifies the long history of the self-portrait. The Ladies in Waiting by Velázquez. Velázquez stands to our left-hand side. The canvas he's working on blocks a view. The painting revolves around the self-portrait of the artist. We see the maids of the title, the courtesan women, who are the attendants of the girl in white. Back into the painting, we see two figures in a mirror reflecting the people everyone is looking at. They are the king and queen, but the king and queen are in the actual place of the painter. Velázquez claims the power of majesty. For art, by association, art was the work of a nobility, not artisans. The portrait of the hero. In the age of revolution, when the old monarchies collapsed, a new frenzy of the visible accompanied the social changes. There were new illustrated newspapers and magazines being published, revolutionizing the visible. The self-portrait of the romantic hero became the picture of a hero. Young revolutionaries and artists seemed to prefer death over dishonor. Bayard, who also invented the photographic process at this time, might be credited with the invention of the selfie on his self-portrait of as a drowned man. He also invented the photographic fake because he was not actually dead. Gustave Courbet appropriated the idea of the artist's suicide for his own self-portrait. Toulouse-Lautrec deliberately used his reflection in a mirror to make a self-portrait. Lautrec does not distort the reality of his difference, his short stature. It's a different kind of heroism, whereas for dominant groups, the mirror is often a site of affirmation. For people who look or feel different, the mirror can be a site of trauma. Lautrec's self-portrait confronts that site without making himself the object of a freak show. Postmodern condition. When the First World War had devastated Europe, the modern period, defined by this heroic artist, seemed to be over. In 1917, Marcel Duchamp developed his idea to create a new ready-made self-portrait. Using a higher mirror, the photo booth created a 5-way portrait in 3 copies. Duchamp did not see himself as one, but as many selves. Rose Selfie, Duchamp's alter ego. The implication of the Selfie's portrait is that gender is a performance. She seems feminine because of her clothes, makeup and jewelry. Simone de Beauvoir put it pithy: one is not born, but rather becomes a woman. In a series of self-portraits, Cindy Sherman sets out to counter the construction of women as passive objects of male desire. She began her project just after Laura Mulvey had coined the expression the male gaze. Men look at the action through the eyes of the male hero, and women are obliged to do the same, a compulsory gender manipulation. Photographic self-portrait can also be a daily record of what has happened. The postmodern self-portrait is a performance. In the classic definition of scholar Richard Schechner, performance is twice performed behavior. All forms of human activity are performance. A performance might be an artwork, or it might be a chef cooking a dish, or then again, it might be anyone, whatever, giving a performance on the gender, race, sexuality in everyday life. Samuel Fosso, a young African photographer, has visualized how his body is Africanized and racialized. Fosso set out to undo the white gaze by making fun of it in his self-portrait. The leopard skin that we see in Fosso's photograph is another African visual cliché. Fosso has described his self-portrait as, "I am an African chief who have sold the continent to the white man." Fosso alludes to the fact that the tribal system dominated by chiefs was the creation of colonial powers rather than being traditionally African. Today, the building blocks of human identity, what we call gender, sex, race and class, have changed and can be glimpsed in the selfie. When ordinary people pose themselves in the most flattering way they can, they take over the role of the artist as a hero. Despite the name, the self is really about social groups and communications within those groups. Selfies are not narcissism. Narcissus spent his life looking at himself, but he did not release a copy of his image for others to look at. It is the development of new visual conversation medium.